Your Excellency, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Republic of Kenya.
Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki was born on the 15th of November 1931, the youngest of 8 children from a family of subsistence farmers living in Nyeri. His intelligence and aptitude for learning manifested from a young age, and in 1947, he qualified to study at the prestigious Mangu High School in the then Kiambu district. His star continued to rise in academic circles after he was awarded a scholarship to Uganda's renowned Makerere University in 1951, where he pursued a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics, history, and political science. He graduated 4 years later with first-class honors, and whilst there, he also served as the vice chair of the Makerere Students' Guild between 1954 to 1955. Mwai Kibaki then received a scholarship to study at the London School of Economics from 1955 to 1958, where he excelled in economics and public finance, graduating with distinction. Upon his return to East Africa, Kibaki then served his alma mater, Makerere University, as an assistant lecturer in the Department of Economics from 1958 to 1960. In 1960, Kibaki left Makerere University and joined the Kenya African National Union, KANU, a party that was leading the political struggle for independence. After Kenya gained independence in 1963, Kibaki was elected Member of Parliament for Donholm constituency, now Makadara, in Nairobi County. His political career went a notch higher in 1965 when he was appointed Minister of Commerce and Industry, and he later served the Ministry of Finance between 1969 and 1982. His economics background had prepared him to navigate the complex docket.
Hapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, Mheshimiwa Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, na nitaitumikia Kenya kwa moyo wangu wote, na kwamba nitaihifadhi, nitailinda na kutetea katiba ya Kenya kwa mujibu wa sheria iliyowekwa. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu nisaidie.
Mwai Kibaki was appointed vice president when Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi rose to the presidency upon the death of Jomo Kenyatta in 1978. In Moi's cabinet, he was initially entrusted with a finance portfolio. But Kibaki increasingly found himself at odds with President Daniel Arap Moi, and in 1988, he was replaced as the vice president by Josephat Karanja and transferred to the Ministry of Health. No reason was given for his dismissal. During this time, the struggle for multi-party democracy was at its peak. Amid internal and external pressure, Section 2A of the Constitution was repealed by President Moi and KANU in early December 1991. On Christmas Day the same year, Mwai Kibaki resigned as Minister of Health and a member of KANU party. Alongside veteran politicians the late Jenga Karume and the late John Keane, Kibaki founded the Democratic Party (DP) at John Keane's home in Karen.
Vivyo sisi tutajua kwamba tutashinda. Tufuate umoja, tafute haki. Kenya mpya imeshajengeka. Imeshajengeka.
He unsuccessfully contested the presidency in 1992 and 1997, losing to incumbent President Moi. In 1998, he became the official leader of the opposition, a position that placed him in a strategic spot in the race to succeed President Moi, who was set to retire in 2002. But Kibaki's quest in 2002 began on a weekend note as President Moi began the first quarter of the election year with a hugely consequential merger between his party KANU and NDP, the party of his newfound, albeit most unlikely ally, Raila Odinga. The KANU-NDP merger not only strengthened KANU's control of parliament, but also placed the party way ahead of the opposition in the game of numbers. In September 2002, Mwai Kibaki joined hands with Ford Kenya and the National Party to form the National Alliance Party of Kenya, NAC, with Kibaki as its presidential candidate. But the shot in the arm for Kibaki's career came in October 2002, when the ruling party KANU disintegrated over the choice of political greenhorn Uhuru Kenyatta as presidential candidate. The rebels from KANU, that included KANU Secretary General Raila Odinga, former Vice President George Saitoti, former ministers Kalonzo Musyoka and William Timama, who joined the Kibaki side in forming the National Rainbow Coalition, NAC. At a massive rally in Nairobi's Uhuru Park on the 14th of October 2002, Raila Odinga asked an impulsive question that amounted to a premature yet decisive endorsement of Mwai Kibaki for president.
Yule ambaye tunaweka mbele, ambaye atabeba bendera ya chama chetu katika hii mashindano yanakuja ya uchaguzi, ambaye ni Mheshimiwa Mwai Kibaki. Maanake vile mnajua na vile Mheshimiwa Kalonzo amesema, sasa ndio vita imeanza.
The endorsement angered other presidential aspirants in the newly formed coalition, but seemingly it was too late to stop the rainbow wave. The coalition brought together Kibaki's NAC and Raila Odinga's Liberal Democratic Party LDP. A few weeks before the election, tragedy struck as Kibaki was involved in a car accident and suffered serious injuries. With Kibaki confined to a wheelchair, Raila Odinga rallied the Rainbow Coalition through weeks of a highly energized and widely resonating campaign that ended in the landslide election of Mwai Kibaki as Kenya's third president since independence.
Figures do give indication that Honorable Mwai Kibaki is ahead of the next presidential candidate, that is Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, by a very wide margin. It is not likely that the margin can be eliminated. He has therefore professionally satisfied the criterion upon which a presidential candidate must be declared elected. The Electoral Commission therefore declares Honorable Mwai Kibaki the President of Kenya.
Mwai Kibaki, naapa kwamba nitatenda kazi zangu.
Sworn in on a wheelchair, President Mwai Kibaki and his team moved with haste to begin to implement some of their election pledges that they had made, including reviving the economy and tackling rampant corruption, especially in the public service. Significant economic changes were implemented by President Mwai Kibaki during his first term as president. However, the endemic corruption that he had promised to fight during his election campaign remained rampant. Although he established anti-corruption courts, his attempts to pass anti-corruption bills were largely unsuccessful. Kibaki's government also suffered from wrangles arising from the failure to implement the pre-election power-sharing Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) between NAC and LDP. Tension over the MOU increased as lawmakers struggled to draft a new constitution, which Kibaki had promised during his campaign. Disagreements concerning reforms, especially the creation of the post of Prime Minister, further divided NAC and delayed the enactment of a new constitution, leading to public unrest. Mega corruption reared its ugly head in 2005, with members of Kibaki's administration implicated in the 50 billion Kenya shillings Anglo leasing scandal, where 18 security-related contracts were awarded to companies that did not render services or deliver goods paid for. A new constitution, backed by Kibaki, was finally put to the test in a referendum in November 2005, but it was rejected by voters. In what was widely viewed as a contest between the MOU opposites, that is Kibaki's NAC and Raila's LDP, Kibaki responded to this referendum threat by dissolving the cabinet and kicking out Raila Odinga and his allies in the newly constituted cabinet. Kibaki also reached out to KANU, the party he defeated in 2002. He named in his new cabinet KANU chair Uhuru Kenyatta, Ford People leader and former KANU diehard Simeon Nyachai, amongst others. Before the dust had settled on that referendum loss, Kibaki was confronted by the reality of an election loss in the upcoming 2007 election. He quickly formed a new party, the Party of National Unity, PNU, to face Raila Odinga's Orange Democratic Movement, ODM. The election process started off peacefully, but a delay in the release of the final election results saw the building up of tensions, with Electoral Commission Chair Samuel Kivoito wondering on national TV whether his officials were cooking election results.
We can't get our officers, I don't know. So, I don't know where they are. And so, we have asked the police to assist us to trace these people. If it is impossible for me to carry on my work, I can go home. Yeah. I'll go home if I am.
Raila Odinga's two-day lead in the results tally was wiped overnight, and Kibaki was declared winner under controversial circumstances.
8,624. This means Honorable Mwai Kibaki is the winner. The Commission therefore declares Honorable Mwai Kibaki as the President of Kenya.
A nightfall swearing-in ceremony followed shortly at State House, Nairobi. Odinga and his allies immediately disputed the outcome.
Mimi Mwai Kibaki naapa kwamba nitatenda kazi zangu za urais kwa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
With international observers questioning the validity of the final results. Widespread protests ensued throughout the country and degenerated into horrific acts of violence, which eventually led to the loss of life of more than 1,000 people, and more than 600,000 were displaced in the election's violent aftermath. Frantic efforts to resolve the political impasse between Kibaki and Odinga were not immediately successful, exacerbating the situation. The late former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan arrived in Kenya.
In the Ministry of Finance, and as Vice President saw Kenya's economy grow steadily, fueled by a commodities boom, as well as fiscal and monetary policies that were the backbone of his economic philosophy. Believing that Kenya was once again ripe for a vibrant multi-democracy, President Kibaki exited from government and led the charge to keep the ruling party accountable. His contributions to the restoration of multi-party democracy as the leader of the official opposition, combined with his track record and impressive credentials, made Mwai Kibaki the natural choice for selection as the opposition consensus candidate against my own candidature in the year 2002 and the presidential elections that followed thereafter. On the 30th of December 2002, Mwai Kibaki was sworn in as the third president of the Republic of Kenya. He served as head of state and government until the 9th of April 2013. The late former president's administration conceptualized and spearheaded transformation in crucial sectors such as education through the globally lauded free primary education program, infrastructure developments in transport and energy, and increasing the availability and access to health care for his fellow Kenyans. In honor of this great statesman, Kenya remains committed to maintaining policies that promote economic and social empowerment, democracy, the rule of law, and respect for human rights. The late President Kibaki championed the realization and objectives of the East African Community Common Market, of trade liberalization for the citizens of partner states of the East African Community. His inclusive spirit and conviction for